This is K1DBC. The DRC Learning Net will start in 1 minute. All stations, please stand by. Hello and welcome back to the Denver Radio Club Learning Net for January 8th, 2025. It's a great place to learn about ham radio and STEM topics in general, and thankfully we have plenty of combined experience and expertise. This is Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. My name is Daron, and I'm this evening's net control. Tonight we'll be taking your check-ins, comments, questions, updates, and more. We meet every Wednesday except the third Wednesday of the month, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, on 145.490 and 448.625. You can contact us via email, elmer@w0tx.org, and most social media at Denver Radio Club. That's to include youtube.com/Denver Radio Club. So if you'd like to see behind the scenes of the net or visual context, that in addition to a way to participate in the net. This net can be broken at any time for emergency or priority traffic by using the word break. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All check-ins to the net will be taken in alphabetical groups based on the first letter of the suffix of the operator's call sign. That is the first letter after the number in the call sign. If you can, please try to use ITU phonetics for the call sign at least, and indicate if you have any traffic or questions as you check in. You can follow along with check-ins at w0tx.org/check-in. If your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Kilowatt Delta 0, Charlie Golf Fox, Kenny and Thornton with no traffic. Foxtrot 0, Alpha Sierra, Dave Evergreen, no traffic. WD0 CIB, WD0 CIB, Charles in Denver, no traffic.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Hold up there for just a moment. Net Control would like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins: KD0CGF, Kenny, AF0AS, Dave, WD0CIV, Charles, and online we had Larry, K0LAI. Thank you so much for checking in. Once more, if your call suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, and you'd like to check in, let us know your call sign, your name, and if you have any traffic or questions, A through M, please call now.
0TX repeater.
Okay, we'll open up the whole alphabet. We're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. If you'd like to check in to the Denver Radio Club Learning Net just for the count, or if you have traffic or questions, let us know your call sign, your name, and again, if you have traffic or questions, A through Z, Alpha through Zulu, please call now.
Kilo Echo 0, Sierra Uniform Mike, Jonathan, Lakewood.
All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-in. KE0SUM, Jonathan, thank you so much for checking in. I think there was someone else trying to call in with a kilo call sign. If you want to try once more, or I'll put this out. We're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. If you'd like to check in, please call now.
This is Kilo Echo 0 Alpha Bravo, Ken in Lakewood. This is Kilo Foxtrot 0 Foxtrot Papa India, Ron in Lakewood.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Oscar Papa Lima, Devin in Broomfield.
All right, I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins. Kilo Echo 0 Alpha Bravo Ken, Kilo Foxtrot 0 Foxtrot Papa India Ron, and Kilo Foxtrot 0 Oscar Papa Lima Devin. Thank you all so much for checking in. Again, we're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. This is a general Q&A about ham radio and STEM topics. So if you'd like to check in, let us know your call sign, your name, and if you have traffic or questions, please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I thought I heard someone trying to get in there, but no further check-ins heard at the moment. I can certainly bring up a few articles. Again, this is the Denver Radio Club Learning Net, great place to learn about ham radio and STEM topics. We have plenty of combined experience and expertise. We'll take check-ins throughout the net. I don't see anybody indicated they had any traffic yet. So I'll throw it out there for another round of check-ins. We're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. Let us know your call sign, your name, and if you have any traffic or questions, please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. It is just the beginning of the year, so people might still be on vacation. Hopefully, people have had a chance for rest and relaxation and reflection, and we'll have a hopefully a better year next year than we did in previous years. But this is K1 DBC Net Control. I'll throw it out to the group. Are there any comments, questions, check-ins, anything else at the moment? Please call now. All right, this is K1 at DVC Net Control. Let's see, California wildfires. It's surprising that they're still happening at this time of the year, but as we've seen in the past, they've dealt with a lot of different wildfire issues, and there's probably a lot of different amateur radio emergency services groups since there's probably cell phone tower coverages, Yep, it was previously public gas and electric, and some of their older power lines. And I'm not sure the state of the current wildfire, but hearts go out to them, and hopefully people aren't suffering and are doing well and are getting the assistance that they need. So, anybody on the current California wildfires or amateur radio emergency services for that? Please call now. I heard someone maybe trying to get in. I'm not sure if that's the same person, but I haven't heard any voice or call sign on that. But if someone wanted to chime in on that, please call now. Okay, just looking at a Reddit post from 21 hours ago. There's some jammer interference with LA County's Palisades Fire and City Command frequency, unfortunately, which is, yeah. Let's see, hopefully people are invested in those rapid radios that are such a supposedly good for this. Disasters, have not heard of those, but rapid radios, maybe they're IP-based, network-based radios. So if you haven't heard of that, they kind of look like HTs, but they use 3G, 4G, LTE communications. But again, cell phone coverage, if that doesn't work there. Maybe there's some CERT groups involved. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? Please call now.
Comment, SUM.
Jonathan, Kate E0 SUM. Go ahead.
Well, I've been watching the California wildfires are devastating. I'm so sorry for all those people. But I noticed this evening they were saying like 1 million customers were without power. Well, I don't know how well cell phone towers work without power. Are they all? I don't think they're battery driven. And plus, so if you're without power, even if you have a cell phone, it's going to run out of charge after a while unless you have a lot of backup. So ham radio seems like the best option. Now, whether that's VHF or UHF, locally, I don't know. I imagine HF is probably not real good for that, but I was just guessing. I wondered how long the cell towers would hold out with when you're using digital communications over the internet. Back to net.
W0TX repeater.
Great question. Most cell phone towers have a redundancy of 2 for power and for internet. So depending on how things work out, power still may be available. Backup generators, diesel generators is really the only other option. And it's really only a short-term option. So I'm sure the cell phone providers are definitely trying to resolve this and figure out what's going on and what they can do. So not a lot of time if there is no DC power available to those cell phone towers. Great question and great point. This is K1 DBC Net Control. Jonathan or anyone else on that, please call now.
KD0CGF for the comment.
Yeah, Kenny, KD0CGF. The net is yours.
Thinking about that, power being out and the cell towers go down, and Fire Communications is having trouble. I know the United States is trying to switch over to what's called P25 Phase 2. I know Colorado's is getting there. I'm not too sure how far they got. I know the East Coast still is running VHF, but they're also on P25 Phase 2. And from my understanding of the way that system works, that makes me curious to know. If the power goes down and the battery backups go down, does that system go down? Do they still does the newer technology automatically default to radio communications, or how? It makes me wonder how they got that set up. KD0CGF back net.
Great question. Yeah, APCO 25, Project 25, Phase 2. Signal fits in a 12.5 kilohertz wide channel, so kind of some DMR, some digital type radio, essentially, but just squeezing more out of it. I'd imagine it's very, very similar. I don't know how it works from going to a tower to simplex radio to radio. I'd imagine there's some sort of built-in support for things like that, but yeah, it's just radio repeaters and towers just for other technology. So, I mean, if cell phone towers aren't working, potentially other public safety towers aren't working either as well, and repeaters, things like that. So, yeah, great follow-up on that, Kenny. Appreciate that, CGF. Anyone else on that? Please call now.
Alpha Bravo.
Alpha Bravo, go right ahead.
Yeah, this is Kilo Echoes Alpha Bravo. Yeah, Daron, you brought up a good point on that. I did all my testing back in California in the 90s, and I used a lot of the repeaters on the Palmdale area, Oat Mountain, a lot of those mountains up there with a lot of repeaters. So it will be very interesting just to see how many of the repeaters did get destroyed and how many made it. But and there's a lot of repeaters on some of those mountains up there, so that will be interesting to see when this is all over with what fared out and how all of that worked out. Anyway, this is Kilo Echo Zero Alpha Bravo, back to net.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see, what comes of this and what kind of communications were available. I'm just looking at an article from September 9th, 2024. Amid wildfires and spotty cell service, Northern California residents turn to ham radios. This is in Redding. North State is no stranger to disasters, but bad reception when a cell phone isn't able to go through. A ham radio may just able to help you. So yeah, this just kind of goes through a story of some coverage. So yeah, maybe a combination of VHF, UHF, HF, people that do have power, that have coverage and repeaters and things like that can potentially help. It is a big state, but we'll have to see what comes of this. So anyone else? Wildfires are raging through California at the moment. If anybody has comments or questions on that, ham radio related or otherwise, please call in.
KB6CC.
KB6CC, Dwayne got you checked in. If you got something, go right ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it. Not go by my middle name, but just a comment about cell towers back in 2015, effective a few years later. FCC required them to have a minimum of 24 hours backup, but that's not going to make any difference if the cell tower and the equipment all burns up. It's going to go down right away. KB6CC.
All right, KB6CC. Scott, thank you so much for the follow-up on that. Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting. So, thanks for the follow-up on that. Really do appreciate that, Scott. If you have anything else or anyone else on that, it is 7:50. I'll start to take check-ins maybe in a few minutes here. But anyone else, please hold there. All right, this is K1 at DBC Net Control. Locally, we're not really all too stranger to this. We had the wildfire up in kind of the Boulder area a couple of years ago. Very similar kind of circumstances with Excel Energy, but I think actually there may have been some communication ICS kind of issues with that as well, maybe, and that kind of led to why that did. But wildfires, nothing to be messed with. Fires can come from all sorts of sources and whatnot. So, unfortunately, homeowners insurance aren't covering some of these homes anymore and these residents, and it's just such a nightmare for everyone involved. So, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Anyone else on that or anything else? Please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I'll take this opportunity to take official check-ins if you're just tuning in. This is the Denver Radio Club Learning Net, great place to learn about ham radio and STEM topics. And we have plenty of combined experience and expertise. If you'd like to check in, we're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. Let us know your call sign, your name. And if you have any traffic or questions, please call now.
November 0, Tango Romeo Papa, Jim in Lakewood. Good evening.
N0 TRP, Jim, got you checked in. Do appreciate that. Anyone else like to check in at the moment? Let us know your call sign, your name, and if you have any traffic or questions, please call now. All right, this is K1 at DBC Net Control. We don't frequently do this, but I am also monitoring our DMR Brandmeister talk group 310804. So if you're not local and you'd like to check in over our DMR talk group 310804, feel free to do so, and I should hopefully hear you. With that, I'll throw it out to the group. Any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else so far for this evening's Learning Net? Please call now. Okay. I'd only brought up the California wildfires because it's certainly in the news, and it's unfortunate incident. But hopefully there'll be lessons learned, and better practices can be put in place nationwide and worldwide. With that, I certainly can bring up a few other things. But anyone else? We have another half hour or so. Let us know if you have any comments or questions. Please call now. This is K1 DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Learning Net. We have 35 or so minutes. If anybody has comments or questions, updates on any previous projects you've been working on, any updates from purchases or gifts over the holiday time, or anything else, please call in.
Alpha Bravo.
Kilo Echo Zero Alpha Bravo. Ken, the net is yours.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody else there has been doing any reading or seen any articles on the Kessler effect. It's about the satellites and all of the stuff that's out there. And what happens if all of this stuff starts colliding and breaking up and all the space junk. I was just curious if anybody has been reading about any of that.
Alpha Foxtrot, Alpha Sierra.
Great question on the Kessler effect. Alpha Foxtrot Zero Alpha Sierra. Go right ahead with the follow-up.
Yeah, I'm fairly familiar with it, given I've been following SpaceX and Starlink and Kuiper and Amazon and all the other constellations. There's also Russian and Chinese and European ones that are planning on going up. At this point, even though SpaceX has 6,000 plus Starlinks up there, it's still like shooting a BB across a wide open field. The satellites are so small compared to the amount of space between them that there's still super low risk of it. Back to the net.
Okay, yeah, I was been reading on it too, and I kind of thought the same thing. But as time goes on, I don't know, it's just kind of something to think about, because if something did like that happen, boy, it would shut down everything, from banking to a lot of different communications. But I do understand that it is a big wide open space up there for sure. But I was just curious. Anyway, thank you. This is Kilo Echo Zero Alpha Bravo, back to net.
Excellent. Sounds good. Yeah, there are deorbit plans for anything that's been put up into space over the last probably decade or so. I don't know exactly, but companies are forced to deorbit their satellites over time now, hopefully to mitigate that effect. But looks like we have, as of December 31st, 2022, maybe there were 6,718 operational satellites in Earth's orbit, and Kessler effect being hypothetical scenario where space debris collisions cause an exponential increase in the amount of space junk in low Earth orbit. Could lead to a situation where Earth's orbit is so clogged with debris that satellites and space exploration are no longer possible. So I think if we had been continuing on the same path that we had 30, 40, 50 years ago, potentially so, and maybe naturally things would have deorbited, but all countries, everything, all companies are required to deorbit. So hopefully this should not be an issue. Great question, though. Really do appreciate that. I thought I saw that in my YouTube feed or something the other day, but anyone else on that or any other comments or questions, please call now.
KD0 CGF.
KD0 CGF. Kenny, go ahead.
Hey, Daron, I just sent you an email with a couple of pictures from the radio project. I haven't had a chance to create an updated video yet on it, but I have got the project started. And the only thing that I'm stumped on right now, I'm wondering if this is even doable. Anderson connectors. I know Anderson connectors are primarily DC, but can you use them in an AC situation like that, where it's only powering a power supply and a battery charger? The reason why I say this is I want to be able to take the top cover off of the case. Let me drop for a second. I want to be able to take the top cover off the case and have a quick disconnect from it. Obviously, it wouldn't be plugged into AC power when I do that, but does anyone know of anything similar to that for AC power that would be good? KD0CGF back to net.
Bravo question.
Great question there. Kenny, and I do have that brought up. I'm showing that on screen here. As much as I've dealt with ham radio, some of these topics still are a little bit of a mystery to me. I think there was Alpha Bravo in there with a follow-up, I believe. Go ahead.
That's an interesting subject. My question is, are the Anderson power poles UL listed for 120 to 250 volts? Is there a UL listing on them? I have no idea.
KD0CGF. I have no idea myself. I've looked at it a little bit. I haven't researched it in depth. I looked it up today, and from what I can tell, it's just DC. But yeah, it definitely is interesting. This is KD0CGF. Back to net.
All right, sounds good. This is K1 DBC Net Control. I was trying to do some things in the background there, but have not been able to find some more information on that. But yeah, great question. Yeah, anyone else on that? Looking at some photos here, and hopefully in the future here over on his YouTube channel, Kenny will have that posted as well. I'll try to bring that up here in a second. But anyone on that Anderson Power Pole AC question, please hold on.
Kilo Echo Zero Alpha Bravo. I would think that they would be, but I don't know either. But that's very, very interesting.
Appreciate the follow-up on that. No, we also had Larry in the YouTube chat. K0LAI stated he would use AC connectors that are UL listed on the AC side, at least. So hopefully that maybe helps there a little bit. But anyone else on that, or CGF Kenny, or anything else? Please hold on.
JB6CC.
KB6CC, go right ahead.
Yeah, just looking on the back of a package, and it says up to 55 amps. So I don't know if that matters AC or DC. I bet you can find a data sheet on the Anderson website if they have one.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Scott, KV6CC, for the follow-up on that. Yeah, just trying to do a Google search of Anderson Power Pole. AC Power isn't really coming up with a whole lot. So that may be the answer potentially. But let's see. Question on reddit.com/amateur radio. Let me see. I think it addressed this. Unfortunately, there is no high current 12-volt ham standard and no 120-volt AC standard. The first 12-volt ham standard was Molex. This may or may not be of any information regarding this. But this is K1DBC Net Control. Anyone else on that? Please call now. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kenny. I'm just going through those photos now. A orange Pelican case, medium size. It's got some SO259, PL259, VHF connectors at the back of it. Fairly large cable for LiFePO 4 battery, 12.8 volts, 20 amp hours. Looks like a power supply here of sorts. Let's see, a Yaesu radio. And some more finished photos of a lot more some buttons and switches and ports and a lot more on here. So awesome to see the progress on here. So if you have any other follow up on that or anyone else does, please call there. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Not sure if there was a double in there, but I did hear Brian, KF0AWC. If you had traffic, I'll get back to you here in just a second. But if anyone else was just trying to check in or had any follow-up on that, go right ahead.
KD0CGF. Yeah, I was just going to elaborate more on that case for you.
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll
announce that the rated voltage on those Anderson power poles is 600 volts, so I think 120 would be more, the 600 volts would more than handle this. The 600 volts would take care of the 120 volts. That's awesome. Thank you for that update. Yeah, I'll give it a shot and see what happens, and I'll report back if I have any issues on it. But to elaborate more on the case, Daron, could you go back to the main picture for a minute? This is KD0CGF.
CGF got that brought up. Go right ahead.
So the idea is where the plug's coming in, that's going to be the AC line going to the big switch. And then the connector to the left of that is going to be an expansion for some solar panels. I still got to do some research to figure out if I need a controller or if the modern advancement of solar panels have the controllers built into them in the sense of charging the battery. That's still new territory for me. The power supply is just a switch mode power supply that I had lying around. That one actually had a bad cap in it, and we repaired the cap, and the power supply seems to work just fine. Let me drop for a second. On the front of the case, and this is a picture you don't have yet, there will be two connectors where the radio currently sits, going through the front of the case, and that you can connect the microphone into with the waterproof quick connect on a Cat 6 connector. On top of the case, or on top where the black part is and all switches and the lights, I did set the tuner in, or the antenna tuner, and I disconnected the face unit from the tuner, and I'm right now in the process of trying to find a ribbon cable to replace it. Interestingly enough, the ribbon cable, I'm not sure how to determine how wide I need it. KD0CGF for ID. Sorry, my radio stopped me. But the green light indicates the battery, which is position 2, and the red light's obviously AC power, which is position 1. The blue light is going to bypass both those because it's just going to say, hey, there's a solar panel connected, I'm going to charge the battery now. That's all it's for. The QYT radio, I am going to replace that. I do have a Yaesu 400DR lying around, and that's what I'm going to put in that place instead. So it's still a lot in the process, but definitely a lot in a small packed case. Let me drop one more time here. The other thing that I'm wondering is there's a speaker on there that says speaker HM. If I plug that into the FT891, is that going to make it to where sound doesn't travel through the radio unless I have something like head jack, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words, a headphone plugged into that, or do I have to have that completely disconnected from the radio? Let me drop one more time here.
W0TX repeater.
KD0CGF for ID. The Pelican case is a Pelican 1535, I believe, airdrop case, and it's just a lighter case to where, in theory, I can take this onto an airplane. It would fit in the luggage compartment above the head, assuming the FAA or the TSA, I forget who, allows me to actually take this on an airplane. But from my understanding lately, I don't think they will. But this is KD0CGF, back to net.
Question, SUM.
SUM, go ahead.
So I was adding kind of up the weight for all this. So what do you think it weighs in the end, and do you keep radials in there?
I think after everything gets put into the case, right now I still got to order the battery charger. It's going to have the 2 radios, the HF, the VHF, UHF. And in total, I think it'll probably weigh about close to 25 pounds. That's just a guess, because I picked it up the other day with the majority of it in there, and that's kind of what it felt like. KD0CGF, back to that.
Well, I think your estimate's about right, but then you have to throw in, since I do mobile work also, you have to throw in coax, radials, and antennas. So you end up lugging around quite a bit of stuff. But I love the layout you've done. It's just great, and I love 891s. That was my first HF radio, and I also have a 400 I'm talking on. But, yeah, you've got, a 20-amp battery, so You got lots of power, my friend. KE0SUM back to net.
Excellent. Well, sounds good. Thank you so much for the update there. You can find more info as he updates it on his YouTube channel, KD0CGF Labs. And there's some progress on there and maybe some more in the future here. So really cool stuff here. Thanks for the update. It's nice looking Go box and kit and rig here, and looking at that super antenna you were mentioning there earlier. And I think it was Brian, actually, AWC, who was showing off that at one of the DRC Saturday events too. So very cool stuff here. Yeah. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else on that? Or please call now.
This is Alpha Fox Zero Echo. Alex checking in with a comment.
Excellent. Alpha Fox Zero Echo. Alex, go right ahead.
Yeah, that I have a comment about this power supply, 12-volt power supply inside the box. I think I'm using the similar one, and it works fine. It's cheap. The only thing with that, the fan there kind of turns on quite often, so it gets hot a bit. So I'm not sure if you put it inside the box, enclosed box with no ventilation, how is that going to work? My experience, the fan turns on quite often, but I'm also running 100 watts on it. So that's about it.
This is KD0CGF. That was something that I was thinking about as well, and the idea that I'm going to have is the power supply that I'm going to order to charge the battery. The fan is on one of the ends, and the power supply is going to sit in a different position. Now I'm going to set the power supply on top of that to kind of act like a heat sink. And it's the running theory. I don't know if this will actually work. Then below the switch, the main switch, I'm looking at potentially if I can fit a 120 millimeter fan below that, I will. If not, I'm going to drop it down to an 80 millimeter fan. And I'm looking at, what are they called, Octua fans? I'm looking at one with a high airflow or high CFM for that, or almost like a server fan. This is KD0CGF back to net.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, it looks like it's a 12-volt DC, 29.6 amp, 360-watt regulated switching power supply, I believe. Yeah, great question though on power and storage of that. Absolutely, because yeah, things do get hot and ventilation is required in order to not break your equipment. So yeah, great question, Alex AF0E. If you have any other follow-up on that, go right ahead.
Oh, I don't I just have the similar power supply. Yeah. So I had to say something about it.
Sounds good. Well, we do appreciate it. Yeah, it's things you may not think about, and it's also yeah, always helpful to have information on there. Let's see. KS0E in chat mentioned thinks it's a pretty cool project. Alex, do appreciate that. Pass that along. And then Larry Irons also mentioned that battery is at 240 watt hours. Anything over 160 watt hours is forbidden on aircraft. So that may answer a question you were asking earlier in terms of using a travel case as a travel case. But if you have anything on that or anyone else on that, please call now.
CGF. So that was one thing I also thought about, and the reason why I have the battery positioned like that instead of lying down like it was previously is so that way, sorry about the whistle, so that way I can take just disconnect the battery and just leave the battery out if it was needed to. This is KD0 CGF back to net.
All right, sounds good. Nice quick release system for that, just in case. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, do appreciate the update on that. We have another 10 or so minutes. This is taking us through most of the net. Really do appreciate the update on that. Yeah, Go boxes have been popular, and yeah, just as time goes on, it gets more expensive to put things like this together, unfortunately. So it's a real privilege to be able to see your progress through this. So yeah, anyone else? Go box building, power pole connectors, different radios, power supplies, switch mode power supplies, batteries, comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else on that, please come there. All right. Well, very cool stuff. Thank you again. And don't hesitate to let us know in the future. And again, you can check out his YouTube, KD0CGF Labs over on YouTube. Some updates and things like that over on videos and live, things like that. So yeah, anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? We have another 10 or so minutes. We've talked about quite a few things here this evening. If you want to rehash anything or have any comments or questions or any other check-ins, please call now.
0TX repeater.
Bravo.
Kilo Echo Zero Alpha Bravo. Ken, the net is yours.
Yeah, I just went to that APP Anderson Power Pole website, and they have a really great article on the power poles and the industrial standards and the voltage and the amperage and the UL listing and what the NEC accepts and all of that good stuff like that. So if a guy is really interested, he could kind of read some on that, and they're good. They're good for. They make different things for different applications, and they're good for 600 volts AC or DC, or you gotta know your amperage and your voltages and all of that good stuff. So that was quite an interesting article. But yes, a very interesting subject. This is Kilo Echo Zero Alpha Bravo back to net.
Excellent. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, I was trying to find that, but AndersonPowerPole.com or AndersonPower.com, and there's probably a lot of great resources on spec sheets and data sheets and different specs and things like that. So really do appreciate that. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? Please call in.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Romeo Papa Sierra. Kilo Foxtrot 0, Romeo Papa Sierra. Rick in Watkins on a HT. Checking in.
Excellent. Kilo Foxtrot 0, Romeo Papa Sierra. Rick Watkins on an HT. Got you loud and clear. Making the repeater just fine. Thank you so much for checking in. KF0 RPS.
SUM comment.
Jonathan, KE0 SUM. Go ahead.
Well, first off, welcome, Rick. And boy, you sound great for an HT in Watkins. So whatever you're doing, keep that up. You're doing it right. Anderson Power Poles, I'm just going to point out, because I'm in the business, that Ham Radio Outlet was carrying power poles but they're switching over to 12-volt brand, which is exactly the same, except we're able to save you guys money. So I just thought I'd note that. KE0 SUM, back to it.
Okay, interesting to hear. Yeah. I'm just looking on hamradio.com. I'm not trying to, or try to figure out, is it a still power pole kind of spec, just under a different a name or something like that? But if you have any follow-up on that, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they researched ahead of time, and we wouldn't be selling them because we guarantee everything, and none have come back. So their power pole specs is just a different branding. I don't know. Maybe they're all made in the same place. Maybe they're not.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'd imagine there's probably, this is a very standard type of connector, and Anderson probably just had their name in the game for a long time, but others probably are capable of using that same sort of spec. But really cool stuff. Yeah, I do appreciate the follow-up on that. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We have another 5 or so minutes. If anybody has comments, questions, further check-ins, please call now.
TRP.
N0 TRP. Jim, the net is yours.
This N0 TRP, and Joe and I have got a conflict for the 22nd, which I believe, are you having the board meeting then?
I believe so. Yeah, we still are having that this month. If you're not able to make that, not a problem. I'll throw it out. Kenny, I don't know if you're still there. KD0CGF, if you're interested in taking net control for the 22nd, let me know.
KD0CGF. Yeah, no worries. I can take it over for the 22nd.
Great. This is N0 TRP. Thank you so much. N0 TRP, back to net.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you so much, KD0CGF, Kenny, for being able to step in there. If something comes up, please don't hesitate to let me know. But the 22nd, we'll hear you on the air. This is K1 DBC Net Control. If anybody's interested in taking net control operations, there's plenty of opportunities to do so. Let us know. Follow up via email if you'd like. Net control is pretty... it's a lot easier than you may expect it to be, and it's just good net control operations, and we have a lot of tools and practices in use. So if you're ever interested, let us know. All right, it is 8:27 p.m. Mountain Time. We have just a few more minutes. If anybody has any other further comments, questions, check-ins, please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We might start to wrap things up here. I guess I'll cover some club business. More information on us, w0tx.org. Let's see, our latest roundtable came out. Really do appreciate Brennan Pate for being able to continue to put that together. If anybody's interested in helping us out with our newsletter, writing news articles, or putting together the PDF itself, there's always opportunities to do so. So really do appreciate anybody's involvement with that. Let's see, we have upcoming meeting, I think still to be announced, I believe. Oh boy, I guess next week is the 15th. So it'll be the third Wednesday next week. I guess still to be announced, I believe. So more info on that as the date approaches. I'll probably have something on the Sunday night net. With that, I'll throw it out. Last minute comments, questions, check-ins. Please call now. Okay, nothing heard. It is just about to tick over to 8:30 p.m., so we'll start to wrap things up. We had a total of 15 check-ins. Really do appreciate that. Thank you all for your continued support to our club and to this hobby and to the community. We appreciate and thank all Elmers and anybody who can chime in and help us. And we appreciate and thank the Denver Radio Club for allowing us to use their repeaters. Join us the third Wednesday of the month. That is next week, 6 p.m. Mountain Time for an Elmers session. Very similar to this evening's Learning It, just a general Q&A about ham radio at 6 p.m. and then 7 p.m. for our meeting. W0tx.org for more information on that as it gets listed. With that, let me see. Again, W0tx.org for more information on our club. With that, this is K1DBC, Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie, 7-3, and I will be clear. Everyone have a good evening.
0TX repeater.
California, the Golden State. Home to Hollywood, Silicon Valley, Napa Valley. Glitz, glamour, and now, blackouts. In 2019, California became the first state ever to intentionally deny electricity to its own citizens. No power for your home, your Tesla, your cell phone, or maybe your oxygen tank. This is California we're talking about, not some impoverished third world country. California. If it were a sovereign nation, it would be the 5th largest economy in the world, ahead of the UK and France. But in the hot, dry months of late summer and early fall, it can no longer provide electricity to its own citizens. It has to shut down its aging power lines or risk starting another catastrophic fire. In 2018, the town of Paradise burned to the ground. Over 10,000 homes were destroyed. 85 people died. In 2017, the Redwood Fire killed 9 people. California has always had wildfires, but now the fire threat is worse than ever. Why? For the answer, we should look to one of the state's leading citizens, Leonardo DiCaprio. The reason these wildfires have worsened is because of climate change. Case closed? Well, not quite. But Leo isn't wrong. Climate change has made the problem worse. He's just not right in the way he thinks he is. Let's get into it. Long before global warming became climate change, Californians had to deal with fires. The hot, bone-dry summer and fall winds, thick forests, and dense brush that cover good portions of the state made sure of that. As the state's population grew, the citizens, always aware of fire risk, took steps to mitigate that risk, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. First, there were large-scale logging operations. These helped thin the forest. Then there were controlled burns, fires purposely set to clear areas of brush in fire zones, which were then quickly extinguished. As the influence of the environmental movement grew more pronounced at the end of the last century and into this one, the state's policy changed. First, new regulations sharply curtailed logging operations. Cutting down trees for lumber was depicted as almost an act of cruelty. Even clearing dead trees was frowned upon. Controlled burns were viewed the same way. It was much better, the environmentalists contended, to let nature do its thing. And as housing became more expensive in the big cities, developers started to build homes further from metropolitan areas and closer to the wilderness. Parallel to this was the state's green energy mandate. Governor Jerry Brown declared that California would be powered entirely by renewable energy, mostly wind and solar, by 2045. Tremendous pressure was put on Pacific Gas and Electric, the state's largest energy company, to get started on this project. Here's where Leo gets it right, if unintentionally. The green energy mandate turned the power company's attention and resources away from the power grid and to wind and solar. How did this lead to new and deadlier fires? Let's put the pieces of the puzzle together. Wildfires can be started in all sorts of ways. Lightning strikes, campfires not properly put out, a cigarette carelessly tossed away, or sometimes straight up arson. But the worst culprit of all is power lines. In 2018, fully half of California's wildfires were started by power lines or related electrical problems. It's not hard to figure out why. California's power grid is ancient. Most of its towers were built before 1950. Some of the lines are so old they qualify for the National Registry of Historic Places. The lines that are failing and sparking fires? No surprise, the old ones. The deadliest fire in California history, the 2018 Camp Fire that burned down Paradise, was caused by equipment that dates back to 1921. 100-year-old equipment. It's not that the power company didn't know there was a problem. They knew, but they were focused on more pressing political priorities, like green energy. That's where PG&E, a public utility, which just means it's the politicians who call the shots, put its money and resources. In 2018, PG&E spent $2.4 billion on renewables. By comparison, in 2017, it spent $1.4 billion on existing infrastructure. So let's review. The forests grow ever more dense. Brush builds up because controlled burns are not permitted. Developers build in wilderness areas. And the dominant power company chases its renewable energy mandate at the expense of nuts and bolts line maintenance. Such are the things uncontrollable fires are made of. Where are we now? PG&E is in bankruptcy, sued into oblivion, with no viable plan to fix the grid. Instead of bringing vital infrastructure into the 21st century, California is voluntarily turning itself into a third world country. That's what happens when progressives and environmentalists run things. The Golden State isn't going green, it's going broke, and it's going dark. When that happens, maybe a light bulb will finally turn on in the heads of California voters. I'm John Cobelt,